Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to remind you that my book, Drummers on Drumming, is available now on Amazon as both a paperback and an ebook. Based on the Big Fat Five segment of this podcast, where I sit down with my favorite drummers to discuss the 5 records and stories that shaped their approach to the instrument, this book is packed with insights from the drummers who redefined how we think about the modern drum set. You can grab your copy now by checking the link in this episode's show notes or simply searching Drummers on Drumming on Amazon. So thank you for all the support, and now let's get into the show. What is up? All right, that was for you, Stacy, because he wanted me to start off this episode with that. And so, yeah, I usually don't do a introduction for the drum panel segments, but thought I might as well today because we just kind of hop into it. So today, my guests are Elias Mallon and Stacy Jones, 2 amazing drummers and creatives in the music industry here in LA. And Elias and Stacy wanted to do it in person, which is weirdly enough not what I usually do on this podcast. So we got together in Hollywood at Patches Sound, and so thanks, Elias, for doing that for us. It was really fun. So I hope you guys enjoy a little bit of a different style. There might be a little bit more talking over each other in this episode, but that's just because the 3 of us are excited and talk about a lot of passionate things today. So if you want to be if you are a drummer and you want to make it in the music industry, these are 2 guys that you should probably listen to. Not that my other guests haven't been, but I just feel their insight is actually quite different, weirdly enough, but also very important. So cheers, and let's get on with the show.
I feel like I came through for us.
You really did. This is Elias talking. So Elias, give a little bit of an intro for everyone listening. Who are you? Go as deep as you want.
Yeah, 3 fun facts.
Yeah, all right. My name is Elias Mallon.
That's how you pronounce it, Mallon?
Yeah. I have been playing drums since I was 11 years old. I'm 43 now, so that's like 17 years? I don't know what that is.
I'm terrible at math.
I love to tour. I love to sleep. And I love coffee, I guess. So those are the 3 little fun
and Presto.
Stuff. And Presto.
Thank you for letting me peer pressure you both into drinking.
Yes.
No. I'm the most pro-drug and alcohol person I think we all know. So that's good.
This is great. All right, Stacy, who are you?
I am Stacy Jones. I'm also a drummer. I started playing drums when I was like 5, but then really started when I discovered Kiss. When I was like 11.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, now I want to do this.
It's a good band.
Started taking lessons, and I am 53 now, 10 years older than you.
53 years young.
I will be 54, actually,
I know.
in 2 weeks.
In December is your
And he
birthday.
looks younger than both of us.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
By the way,
I can't grow a beard, that's why. This is like 2 weeks of growth right here.
Wow.
And it's
well,
like
this is
barely-
37 years of growth right here, so... You guys are returning guests from Big Fat Five.
Yeah.
So
Huge fan
go
of Big
check
Fat
out.
Five.
Big fan, honored
Yes.
to be back.
You claim to have a lot of stuff you want to talk about.
well, I just have a lot of controversial opinions for any drummers
be good.
listening. And I mean, essentially, Stacy, who's one of the biggest and best and most powerful people in the music industry, especially the live touring industry.
That's debatable.
That's
but-
true. Yeah, he
is.
can live fact check me. So this will be good. Yeah.
Well, I have a master list of a bunch of things that people have sent in, but I did want to ask if you wanted to come out of the gates hot. Do
With
you
a hot
have
take?
Yes.
Well,
Let's do it.
you know
and
what?
then-
First things first.
Yeah.
A tribute to the late great Barry Squire.
Yes, indeed.
Yes,
Yes,
wow.
indeed.
Absolutely.
Raise
wow.
a presto for him.
Godspeed, Barry.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I never actually got any gig from him, but I loved what he did for players. It's been a very long time where the function of the musical director has taken over that role of, deciding who lives and dies in Los Angeles with that stuff. But Barry Squire actually doing what he did was a big influence on me because I just thought it was so cool to constantly connect people and try to get friends' work and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So I tried to get Elias to manage me like 20 years ago. I swear to God. This is a true story. I was like,
I can't do anything for him.
I'm like, you need to manage musicians, because he is exactly right. He's a connector.
Thank you.
You're very plugged in.
Thank you.
You have great taste.
Oh, wow. Really?
So you're perfect for that job. And that's why,
Yeah.
and he does, you basically do it for free now.
Oh, I've always, I mean, I love connecting musicians, even guitar anybody. I love
always
getting
call
people
him.
jobs.
When I'm looking for a musician, I always call you, don't I?
Yeah, thank you for that.
Always.
Yeah.
Well, and I did want to give a shout out to Patches Sound, which is where we're recording.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Patches Sound, yeah.
Pro operation.
Yeah, so but Elias set this up. We're actually in person. Usually I do this over Zoom,
Right.
and I make people think we're all just hanging out, but we actually are looking at each other.
We are in a room.
Thanks to you.
Together.
No, and thanks to Patches Sound and our wonderful friend David Corwin. I toured with him in a group called MKTO.
Okay.
And he was a bass player, and he just runs his beautiful studio and does all this great stuff for Netflix and HBO and just everything.
That's a solid
thank
plug.
you.
Yeah.
Solid plug right there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we sound nice and chocolatey. Technique is not the most important thing to learn. The only truly wrong technique is the one that causes damage.
I'm glad Dave Elich isn't here right now because he would be.
He would take umbrage with that. Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
No question.
I'm actually afraid to even talk about this because if Dave hears anything I say,
I'll just block him
Yeah.
from this episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
right.
definitely will text both of us immediately.
Stacey, what do you think about that?
Well, as someone that I have some level of technique.
Yes.
I've studied, I've taken lessons, I've worked on shit, but also I have a bit of a caveman approach as well. So I think a middle ground is good because, to your point, you don't want to injure yourself by doing things poorly. And trust me, once you get older, like my neck is fucked from headbanging for 20 years.
And your
what I mean?
ankle, apparently. So.
And then I fucked my ankle up as well.
Right, yeah, right. But that's
literally.
none of this is from drumming, essentially. This is just from like you headbanging while drumming. Like if you were just
headbanging
right.
while drumming, yes. But point being, bad posture, bad technique
Sure, yeah.
in terms of the body.
Yeah.
Right? But that said, you can get some shit out of your drums by doing that.
Yeah,
For
sure.
And so sometimes there are times when I find myself in the heat of battle and I definitely am like throwing technique out the window in order to just fucking give it.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
I think middle ground is good. I think it's good to have some technique because you want to be able to preserve your body,
Right.
and be able to perform and not grip the sticks,
Yeah.
like this all night. I'm clenching my fists for the listeners, which I do sometimes because you just have to. But yeah, that was long-winded, I think. But that's
This is
my
an audio
response.
podcast, so
Yeah.
be as long-winded as you want.
I think middle ground. Nice to have a little of both. Sometimes all technique I find to be a little stale in terms of the performance.
Yeah.
Sure.
There are some drummers that I've seen out there that are phenomenal technicians, but sometimes the technique overshadows some of the soul and sort of inherent grit that you might have.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not qualified to speak on this at all, but what I will say is
Why? You have great technique.
No, I mean,
you have animal instinct as well.
Nothing
And
should
you're a
ever be.
full-time gigging drummer. Like, people call you back. You obviously sound good.
I'll say nothing should ever be hurting anybody. Like, I mean, at 43, I feel as great as ever right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that'll change, but
Call me in 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, but I think when it comes to technique, when playing live, when your adrenaline's going, and to me, an important technique is knowing how to calm yourself live on stage in front of a lot of people, especially, if you're playing with something where you're like, oh, I'm going to do this, 16 bar solo or whatever it is. So practicing technique is so important. So when you do start to get nervous or tense up or realize, oh, I have this big part in this show or something like that, that could sort of subconsciously kick in and you can execute. Because, I mean, really, when you think about it, being on stage is an unnatural thing, especially when you're in front of 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 people. It's it's terrifying when you actually think about it.
It's not natural. Yeah.
It's not natural. And us as drummers, there's zero room for error.
Right.
You could see like old videos of Guns N' Roses, like Slash is up there all wasted and like hitting some wrong, and you're like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But you cannot mess up as a drummer ever. the audience kind of knows. They go, I don't know what's wrong, but it doesn't sound right now, or it's discombobulated. The mental technique of playing is not talked about enough, but I also think that as a general rule, technique is important so you can execute the ideas that you're hearing in your head. And if you're having a problem doing that, Stacey's not going to call you. You're not going to get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's not
I think you make a valid point, and I want to share something with the listeners, just a little tip that I got from my therapist, which is, so when I go on stage, most of the time if I'm drumming, I'm usually the MD on the show as well, right? So I'll tell everyone, like, okay, the artist is stage left. We're all stage left. We do our little huddle, and then I go up first, and lights are down.
Yeah.
I get on my kit. I check in with the department heads on the microphone, make sure everybody's cool, check in with my engineer, have a little chat, just to kind of like ground things. And then I will then just like take a moment. I'll just sit on my throne, and like I can picture myself doing this like on, a festival stage right now. And I'll just sit there and I'll like take deep breaths. I'll like feel the weight of my body like on my seat. Like, so I just feel like my butt on the seat, and I'll feel my feet on the ground. And I just like get grounded in that moment and do this really quick breathing exercise, which is you breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7, and then you breathe out your mouth 8 seconds.
Wow.
And you do that 4 times.
4, 7, 8. Okay.
Yep. And that helps, I guess, kind of like calm your nerves and calm your nervous system. And so I'll do that, and then I'll grab the microphone and I'll say, go for show. And then we fucking roll.
Yeah.
And that's every time?
Every time.
Wow.
And even at a small show.
Yeah.
We did a club gig the other day with my band, and I did the same thing. It was like there was other things going on, obviously, while we went up there. But I had that moment of like, okay, I'm just going to close my eyes, do that breathing, get grounded, and then boom.
Sure.
It's very helpful.
Yeah.
See, I would do that too, but the second I walk on stage, the audience starts losing its mind, and it's so loud.
Because when people see you in person, people freak out.
Yes, that's true.
Can't. So I can't even.
Nobody gives a fuck about me usually.
Well, a follow-up to that is that you say you never tune like your drums. You just this. So do you adapt your technique to whatever?
Wait, what do you mean you never tune your drums? What do you mean by that? What are you saying?
So to me, I kind of one of our very dear friends, Tyler Zarzika, is phenomenal with tuning drums. He's an amazing drummer, and he can make drums just sing.
Yes.
And I'm the opposite of knowing even how to tune drums. Like, to me, like, the more I even try to tune it, it sounds worse. So normally, a lot of shows that I play, I rarely
Do you believe
use...
this? I'm not sure I totally believe this.
I saw him with Noah Cyrus like a few years ago, and I remember commenting like, dude, your kit sounded great, and your response was like, I don't even know what kit it was.
I didn't know. I didn't touch it the entire tour, really, unless like a lug gets loose. And the thing is, to me, whenever I sit down on a kit and I'm playing for like a minute or two, it kind of just, I kind of just get the feel of the heads.
Sure.
And then I just kind of just start playing and know how to, I think I try to just sort of pull the sound out in the right way. Yeah. But I never got caught up with a lot of the gear stuff where like I sit down on a kit, I'm like, cool, that sounds like a snare. Cool, that sounds like a tom. And as long as it's not like completely like, out, I'm like, cool, this is fine, let's go. And then now with the amount of outboard gear or stuff, like the front of house engineer or the monitor can make things sound however. So I kind of just tap, like, I always, for the back line, I always get 2 snares, and I kind of tap each one. I always say no wood, and I kind of just tap each one. I go, I think I like that one right now. And then I just play it. And like, there's not a lot of thought in it. Unless I'm in the studio, then that's a different thing. But there's usually a person there that knows how to tune. So I don't really have to, think about it. But yeah, I can't.
I'm the opposite.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first thing I do when I sit at a kit is I check the bottom heads.
Okay.
Because 9 fucking times out of 10, if you get a backline kit somewhere, the bottom heads are never tight enough. They're always loose. Because part of my rider is like all the heads should be new, right? So it's like, here's the heads on top, here's the heads on bottom. They should all be new. 9 times out of 10, people just fucking throw these things on there, and you go, and there's no tuning that's been done to them.
Yeah.
And so if I don't have a tech with me, first thing is check the bottom. Check the bottom heads on the toms and the snares. They're never tight enough.
What Stacey just said, I've never done that in my life, which is also why he's Stacy, and I'm me. I think
That's not.
I mean, he is Stacy, but you
he's
are also
Stacey
you.
Jones.
That's not
No,
true.
I kind of just just kind of play.
To your point, it probably doesn't matter, but for the people watching the show out there, because it's like after all the compression and all the EQ and all the shit that the great front of house guys and gals do, it sounds pretty banging, no matter what you have up there. But it makes my life better when the drums are singing while I'm there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I feel more inspired for sure.
Yeah, awesome. But to your point, I can't tell you how many times people have been like, "Dude, what snare are you using?" And I'm like, I mean, the thing is, I play Tama. I love Tama. Tama's my favorite. I've played it my entire life. I've never done
anything. Going to mention his
Tama or
drums?
Tama?
Tama.
It's Tama.
It's Tama. Hoshino is the company who owns Tama.
Okay. It's
And
Tama.
Ibanez as well. Ibanez.
I feel like
guitars.
I've always said Tama.
Yeah, potato,
Tama.
potato.
I feel like I've said Tama, but I've always felt like the cool people say Tama.
Tama.
I have
yeah.
a Tama bell brass.
Yeah.
Okay, Tama. I say Tama.
Yeah,
I say
to me,
Pello,
Tama drum.
so-
I mean, when I saw Lars play, his 4-rack toms growing up, it's like, it's a Tama kit. That's what I wanted, and I've played only, aside from my first drum set, which was Thunder, I think that was the brand name. It was like a couple $100. The time I first got was able to save up and get like an actual used, it was Tama. I've never
Tama. All right, so we're going with Tama.
Yeah.
And then we
My-
can all agree it's Pirl Exporte as well, right?
Yeah.
That's just
There
basic.
it is.
No, that's
Yeah,
basic
yeah, okay,
safety.
great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
My first kit was a Ruther. You guys
There
ever
you
heard
go.
of Ruther?
No.
It's REUTHER.
I like it.
It's
My first kit was a Kent.
Oh yes.
You ever heard
those?
of
are
those?
still kind of sought after.
Really?
Yeah,
I had an orange sparkle Kent. It was the first real drum set I ever
I
had.
mean, orange sparkle. You can't go wrong
it was
with that.
fuck. I wish I
Yeah.
had that right now.
Why'd you
And
get rid of it?
Probably because I wanted a Pearl Export.
A purely export.
and I got one.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I was playing football in the backyard with my friends, and my parents came to the back door and they were like, "Hey, we need you to help us unload the car. Like get groceries or whatever." I'm like, "I'm playing football, Mom. Like, fuck off." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, we
Fuck
really,
off, Mom."
we really need you to come help us." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
embarrassed, obviously."
Sure.
So I'm like, "All right, I got to go help my mom." And then there's this drum set in the trunk of the car, and I felt like a real fucking
Yeah.
Like an asshole.
Yeah.
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 When you see a drummer,
Yes.
Yeah.
what's the first thing that you notice that makes you think, I wouldn't hire him?
I will say that there was one time where someone sat at the kit and went boom, boom, clack, and I was like, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah. Get
Within
out.
3 notes.
Yeah.
Did you say get out?
I did not.
Okay. You let him play for the rest
did
of the day,
not.
or her play for the rest of the day?
I feel like I know early on. Like
Yeah.
I don't like doing auditions
Sure.
in general for any role. It's fucking brutal for everyone. I don't get the opportunity to audition very often, and when I am given that opportunity, I always take it. Even if it's a gig that I am not necessarily dying to have or whatever, if someone is like, "Hey, we're auditioning, guys. Do you want to?" Yes. Like, I want to audition always, because there's something about, I really like the challenge of like learning some new shit.
Sure.
And going into a room in that kind of, it's a pressure cooker, no matter
Yeah.
how you look at it.
Yeah.
You got, the artist is there maybe the band is there, there's tracks, there's management, there's people behind a glass fucking thing looking at you, you don't know who they are. And it's just like that pressure, there's something about that pressure that I enjoy. I don't always play my best in that scenario. I mean, a lot of us don't. There have been a few times where I have walked out of an audition and I'm like, I fucking crushed that. Like, I knew it. And then there were other times where I was like, oh man, that was not good. That was
And do you end up getting the gig on the ones where you think you fucked up?
yes, there was one that I thought I wasn't great on, and I did get the gig. And the one that I thought I crushed, I did not get the gig. However, I will spill some tea here.
Please.
Yeah.
I want names, social security.
I did audition one time with Kenny Aronoff.
Oh, I know this. This is good.
Okay,
I
go
love
on.
this story.
And Will Calhoun from Living Color
yeah.
God.
for the Smashing Pumpkins
Yeah.
Wow.
in 1995 or 6 or so around
Yeah.
there. And I was playing drums in Veruca Salt at the time.
Yeah.
And we were managed by the same people. And I love the Smashing Pumpkins. I love Gish.
course, yeah.
I love, Gish changed my life.
Sure.
Did I tell this story with you before?
No,
Because I have
please
I know
do.
this. I love
Please
this
do.
story.
All right. So anyway, I was in Veruca Salt at the time. I had just started fucking around with American Hi-Fi. Like I just made like a cassette 4-track, 6-track, 8-track demo of a few songs.
Sure.
Management calls me. They're like, hey, we're auditioning people for Smashing Pumpkins, and I think you should come. We want you to come. And I was like, oh, like, I love the Smashing Pumpkins. I'm like, I don't play like Jimmy Chamberlain. I'm not sure that I'm the right guy for this. They're like, we really want you to come. And I was like, well, what is Billy looking for? And at the time, I was 26, maybe. Mm-hmm. Bleach blonde.
You look the exact same as you do now.
Thank you. Bleach blonde hair, skate rat kid in an alternative rock band, right? That was not as popular as Smashing Pumpkins. And I said, what's Billy looking for? And he says, Billy said he doesn't want some dumb kid from some dumb alternative band. He wants a pro. And I was like, well, like,
I'm on my way.
Here I go. Yeah. So whatever. They convinced me to come to New York. I was like, all right. I was like, put me up at the Royalton, which at the time was like a really nice hotel there.
Sure. Sounds nice.
And I was like, put me up the Royalton, fucking, I want to fly this and that. And they're like, all right. So I go down there. I learned like Cherub Rock, few tunes. Mm-hmm. Get to SIR. It's me, Will Calhoun from Living Colour, and Kenny Aronoff. Mike Levesque was another guy from Boston who I knew, phenomenal drummer.
Okay.
So it's the four of us. We're sitting there. They're Smashing Pumpkins are like 4 hours late. You know what I mean? So the four of us are just sitting around, shooting the shit, whatever, going out front, having a cigarette. I wasn't, but they, Eventually the band shows up. So we go in, and Kenny's kit is set up, right? Tama. Big rack tom here, small rack tom here. His tech is there. You know what I mean? Like, that's the backline kit.
Sure.
And so I sit down, and the guy's like, don't fucking move anything. I'm like,
Jesus.
dude, I can't even hit the snare drum the way this is set up. You know what I mean? He's like, all right, fine. So I got to move a couple things. Anyway, the band comes in. Billy starts playing this, like, jam on his guitar. Just kind of, whatever. James kind of joins in. Darcy's there. We start grooving, kind of get this thing going. We just, like, grooved out for, like, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And, like, Billy was, like, standing right in front of me and rocking. It was great. And he's like, all right, well, what do you know? And I'm like, let's do Cherub Rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I played Cherub Rock on that day as if Dave Grohl were playing Cherub Rock.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't play it like Jimmy. I don't have that kind of finesse.
Yeah.
He's like a jazzer. He's like a jazzer.
Yeah, he's a really finesse player, and I'm definitely not. Okay. And so we did it, and I swear to God, I fucking murdered it. Like, it sounded great. Mm-hmm. And like James was like looking at me, and like the management were all sitting on the couch like giving me thumbs up. Then they were like, what else do you want to do? I was like, can we do Rhinoceros? Because I just love that song, and I just wanted to play that. So we're into playing Rhinoceros, and the door opens of the rehearsal space, and these 4 or 5 women walk in with all these Barney's shopping bags, right? They start pulling all these clothes out, and Darcy's like playing and like looking at the clothes, and then just stops playing the song and like starts like holding, dresses up to herself and like checking, rooting through these bags. And Billy kind of looks around and he's like, guess we're done. I was like, God. And so I walk out of the room. I kind of high five everyone, hug the management that I know, whatever. And I walk out of the room, and Kenny comes up to me and fucking bear hugs me. And it's like, you sounded fucking great. And he's really strong. I don't know if you ever met him.
I've seen him at LAX once.
He's
with
strong.
no sunglasses, by the way.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a big deal for me.
Yeah. No, I think he probably sunglasses were on during this.
Nice.
Anyway, he's real strong and like fucking was like, and he was like, you sounded great, kid. Fucking, and like he walked me out to the sidewalk and was, Anyway, that's my audition story.
So I don't know enough of the history of Smashing Pumpkins.
And then Kenny Aronoff got the gig.
Yeah, okay. That's the end of that story.
The punchline is, Kenny said to me as we were walking out, and Kenny, I hope if you're listening to this, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but he was like, you sounded great, kid, but truth is I already got the gig. Something to that effect.
Yes.
I'm paraphrasing, and I'm old and I don't remember exactly how it went down, but it was something like that.
Why do you think they did they spent money on you going down there?
And Will Calhoun and Mike. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes like you just need bodies in the room. And I've been there too.
Yeah.
I've been there too. I've been in a situation where I'm like, I know I want this person, but the artist wants to see some people, so I'm going to call Ben and Elias too. So I was one of those guys.
How was the jam?
It was fun. It was like this kind of weird, like psychedelic Pink Floyd meets grunge kind of jam.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, exactly what you would imagine.
Sure.
Like started with kind of a funky sort of riff from Billy that was distorted and kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be
Droney.
Yeah.
Kind of. Oh, it was a great experience.
I was going to say, just that 10 minutes would have been...
It was great.
I would think about that all the time. That's awesome.
Clearly, I'm telling the story now, 30 years later, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my big audition story.
So when did you audition
That's my
for
biggest
Smashing
one.
Pumpkins?
Yeah. So I've never had an audition that I did even remotely good at. I hate auditioning.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. I've had you at an audition.
No, I know, but
And you
I didn't
sounded
do
great.
good. No,
That's
I
not
did
true.
not. I did not feel comfortable. I did not feel comfortable. I don't like doing it, and I'm actually against auditions.
First big
and you're
hot
right.
take of the day?
And per the story that Stacey just said.
I'm sorry, that was a really long story.
No, it was great. Are you
Feel
kidding?
free to edit.
It's great. That's
No,
that's
no.
like a legendary story. Stacey Jones and Will Calhoun.
Exactly.
And Kenny Aronoff's like,
Will
anyway.
Calhoun was cool as shit, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And like I wanted to just hang around to hear him play because I loved Living
Yeah,
Color.
he's awesome.
I didn't.
Wow.
Because
I went back to the Royalton.
because Kenny Aronoff was bear hugging you for half an hour in the parking lot.
He broke my ribs.
Yeah. I'm totally against the idea of this because, first off, when you walk in the room, there's people been kind of coming through all day, and even if it's not the old school cattle calls, you're probably maybe they've seen 5. So you go in there, you already feel rushed because you don't want to be the guy that spends 10 minutes moving the kid around so you're comfortable, because everybody in an audition on the other side of the glass is already annoyed.
Yeah.
MDs are constantly like they're just annoyed. They don't
Can
want
I interject for 1 second?
Yeah, please. Yeah. This is a fact check.
I have done that. I have done this, which he's speaking of, which is I have sat at a kit and I didn't want to be the guy moving stuff around. And instead I was like, I'll be the cool guy and just play it like this. And then I sounded like shit because I wasn't comfortable.
Yeah.
So to the listeners, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Take the time.
Sure.
Take the time, get yourself comfortable, and don't worry about what other people are thinking. Because the truth is, these days, people are looking at their phone and shit while you're doing that. It doesn't
Very
matter.
true.
Take your time.
Yeah, but also with that, like, let's say I go in and there's a kid. The thing that I hate more than anything in this world is a DW snare stand. Because the thing is so
There's a lot of options.
fucking clunky. And I feel like
Clunky.
it's so clunky and it's got that raw, I just can't, it's not just like a straight thing like a Tama snare stand.
Nice.
And I can
Wow.
never just get, like, it's so obnoxious to me. And for whatever reason, 9 out of 10 auditions I go on, like at least 90% of the time, there's a fucking DW snare stand there.
Shout out to D. I love DW.
He's
hardware.
a
I was gonna say,
DW,
yeah,
yeah.
he's in your car right now. I saw it.
I do have one in my car right now.
Yeah, they do make just the straight ones, but it's like every kid is like, oh, well, here's the one with the rod that goes forward and back. And anyway.
Can I tangent real quick?
Please.
I did a gig a couple weeks ago. I was just doing like a pickup gig in West Hollywood for a buddy of mine, Sean Hook, amazing artist. We played at the Peppermint Club. Mm-hmm. And he had hired someone else to play the drums, and then this person couldn't do it. So I kind of stepped in last minute. So, Sean was like, hey, there's a house kit. It's all good, whatever. So I brought some cymbals and a snare drum, pedal. Get there, trying to get sound check going. There's no clutch. There's no hi-hat clutch.
Yes.
There's everything else.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 15 cymbals. There's like 3 bass drum pedals.
So many DW snare stands.
Tons of DW snare stands. Tons of snare drums. All this shit. And so I said to the guy at the house, I was like, "Hey, do you have a hi-hat clutch?" And he's like, "Nope."
He loved saying no.
I know.
Nope.
And he goes, "Nope. It was in the email. Bring your own
course it
clutch."
was.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"What? Is this a thing?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it is?
I don't know. Here's the problem.
I've been doing gigs for fucking 40 years.
Yes, they should have the clutch because you don't know what hi-hat stand
There's
is.
there's
there's different-
$5,000 worth of drums in this room.
Yeah.
With all the stuff, but they don't have a $30 clutch. So here's the other thing that really pissed me off. I have a stick bag. I treated myself to one of those nice tackle stick bags like 10 years ago.
Love Scott, yeah.
I love it. Cody, my drum tech of a very long time, amazing drum tech, he always had an extra clutch in the bag. The day before this gig, I opened my stick bag just to kind of clear it out, and I fucking took the clutch out and left it at my studio.
Well, here's the thing. I always have a clutch in my stick bag from something like this, but it's a Tama clutch. So if I get there and it's like a DW,
does it fit?
Oh, it's
no,
too
it
small.
doesn't fit. So
right.
it's like,
right.
It's like, yo, this is your stuff. You should have a clutch. Like, I'm not gonna travel with all the things and be like, well, hey, I got a whole thing here. What do you got?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, right.
I did a very funny reveal of my coat.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know.
I want to tell you what I did was, so I called Neil Daniels.
Oh.
And I was like, hey, can you bring, because I knew he was coming into town and he was possibly coming to the show. And I was like, can you bring me a clutch? And he did, which was very kind of him. But I had to get through the sound check without it.
By the way, quick side note.
Yeah.
If you're going on an audition that Neil Daniels is also going on, he's already got the gig.
I see. All
The
right.
second Neil walks in the room.
He's the Kenny Aronoff.
Yeah, the
of this
second
story.
Neil walks in the room, the artist will see Neil and be like, no, that guy. Like on Neil's way to the drum set. But just on that note, I don't like auditions too because you're just cold. Like I like to, if I'm going to play a show or play in front of people, I like to warm up for a little bit. Just, now also, once I pass the age of 25, it's like I want to warm up a little bit. So you're not really like in that mode. So it's just, and then plus you're in there and it's tense and nervous. So you're a little tense. So you're just not, for me at least, I'm not going to be playing at the top of my ability. I'm uncomfortable.
Can I tell you something?
Please,
can I tell you something not to do? Because
Yeah.
I just did this with this gig with Sean.
Please.
Which was, I learned these songs. We had I had like a day or two that I could to learn these songs, like 8 tunes, and I knew a couple of them already because I'd worked with them before. Learned the songs. We have a couple quick rehearsals, and then we're doing the gig. Right before the gig, I didn't want to drive home, so I'm like, all right, I'm just going to hang out in West Hollywood. I had dinner, and I just sat in my car, and I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to the music, right? And then I started panicking. Because I wasn't totally paying attention, and then I was kind of air drumming along, and then I was like, oh, I missed the bridge.
I know that
Fuck.
feeling exactly.
I'm like, wait, are there 2 bridges? Like, wait, what's happening? Then I rewind, and then I'm like, what's that pattern again? And it's like, here's the thing. That is just my own insecurity and anxiety kicking in because I know the fucking songs. I crushed them at rehearsal the 2 days prior. I practice at home.
Yeah.
I know the songs. But in that hour before the gig, when I was killing time, I thought, oh, I'll just brush up on these. But I wasn't really brushing up, and I was kind of watching people walk by, and someone texted me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it just panic ensued. I'm like, I don't know the music. I started looking at my charts. I'm like,
Diminished returns for sure.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Just like, do your work, do your homework at home, show up at rehearsal, crush it, go to the fucking gig, and have a good time.
So I'm going to force you to give a specific answer though. So
Yeah.
and I love all the tangents we went on. It's perfect. But what is for people listening and
I need to take my shirt off.
Yeah.
I have 2 shirts on.
I
Listen.
love
yeah,
that that's
you
what
should, yeah.
I'm hot. It's hot. Is there air in here? Did you guys turn the air off for Jennifer Coolidge? What's going on?
Yeah.
the boom boom pat. What was it about?
Oh, you're talking. You're addressing me.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking to Elias.
But what well, no, because you gave an answer, but I'm curious. I mean, what is it about someone when they give you a sound and you're just like,
you
no.
can tell
You can
instantly
tell.
if someone
You can
can
tell.
play drums or not. Like
Is
it's
it
an
the
instant thing.
believability?
No,
Or
it's just a thing.
yeah.
It's just you know it. You'll know
Yeah,
it.
you know it too.
You know
Well,
it.
I know it, but
Yeah.
for people listening, I'm curious if there's a way to.
There's an intention.
Yeah.
There's a way that people get sounds out of drums.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? Sometimes I can walk, and this is not always true, but I'll see a drum set on a stage, and I'll be like, oh, that motherfucker can't play.
Yep, absolutely.
You know
That
what
guy
I mean?
has no idea what he's doing.
Or
Yeah.
that guy is going to play exactly like Travis Barker, but not as good.
Yes, well, yes, of course.
That you see that
Yeah.
a lot.
Oh yeah.
Everyone listening pictured that exact drum
And now
set
that
right
the
now.
Warped Tour's
see that
back,
a
you're
lot.
going to see that plenty
No, but
next
there are
year.
cats on pop gigs doing that now.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
By the way,
yeah.
full respect to Travis Barker.
Of course.
Yeah.
But you can tell a lot by how the gear is arranged,
Sure.
what the choices are, like what the cymbals are. I like big stuff, you know, so I play like 17-inch hi-hats whenever possible.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm a Steve Jordan
No, I love it.
knucklehead.
Yeah.
And so, like, I just,
sit in the
anything
mix.
he does, I'm like, I'll do that.
Sure.
Whatever he does. So, you're just like,
You
okay,
just know.
if you're showing up for an audition for a heavy kind of rock pop thing and you've got like a 16-inch crash, it's like,
What are you doing?
no.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
probably not going to work.
Yeah. Quick thing.
Yes.
These days, a lot of the stuff, you know, no one. I don't want to say this exactly, but a lot of times there's no like live drum parts on the record. There's kind of like intentions of like kicks and claps and stuff like that. Before the last chorus, if possible, do a big cool fill. That's
I support
something
that.
Very
that's
practical
something
advice.
because people, you know, the MD especially if they're not familiar with you, they want to know that you have the facility to do some cool stuff. You know, if you just keep it simple the whole time, and it's like, of course you need to sound great and have a great pocket.
Sure.
Of course. But like the fill before the last chorus is what everyone's own personal identity comes into that on what you would do live in the live
Yes.
interpretation
I like that.
of that.
I like that.
And really it should be some sort of gospel-y chop kind of just I'm telling you. I'm telling you that's what they
And no.
all right. Okay. I'm being fact, but like something extravagant where the MD
It doesn't
and
have, it could be fucking meat and potatoes Phil Collins. You know what I mean?
Are you
Any day.
implying, though, that it's like you are sacrificing the taste of the song? This is just your ability to say...
No, if there's a level of creativity, you can always sneak in technical playing that does not interrupt the song.
Interesting.
And here's what
Okay.
happened. If I were in the MD seat and Elias did that, and I'd be like,
Get out of here.
No, I'd be like, that was cute, but yeah, you got the gig, but we're not doing that.
Right.
Which is the point. Yeah.
Sure.
You're saying like...
That's fine.
I understand, but
Yeah.
this is what
Just
I could
to flex.
do.
You want to flex a little.
You want to flex a little bit.
I support that. I support
Yeah.
that.
Oh, all right. Okay. That's. Okay.
I do support that.
Yeah.
I also want to circle back to something you were talking about, like live
Please,
versions,
yeah.
whatever. I've heard this from a couple different artists that I have worked with as a drummer, where I'm in a rehearsal and we're like, okay, we're playing, this song. And I'm like, okay, just to be clear, are we doing the album version? Are we doing the version you guys did at Rock in Rio last year?
Yes.
Or are we doing the version you played in New York at Irving Plaza? Because do your homework. Like, watch all the shit that you can online. That's not something I was able to do back in the day.
Yeah. Mhm.
If I could have gone on and watched Smashing Pumpkins videos on YouTube, I would have, because I was trying to learn those songs in my rehearsal space just with a CD player and headphones, and you can't tell what's going on. Watch all the versions, because artists appreciate that you did your homework.
That's what I was saying. Even just asking that question makes them go... It says so much about your prep, your give a shitness.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Can I say something else
Of
to
course.
the young drummers out there right
yeah.
now?
They need to hear it.
Listen to Stacey when he talks, by the way.
Well, no, but just, people ask me a lot, like, what's the best advice you could give to, like, a young musician get in the game?
Thank you for looking at me when you said the word young, by the way.
He kind of pointed at you, too, by the way. I noticed.
When you're young. Okay, sorry.
It's that flat ironed hair. It's taken years off your life.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Years off my life. Anyway, yeah.
Is that good or
That didn't
bad?
sound right.
Yeah.
I'm not the best drummer on the planet.
That's not true.
Elias,
Go on.
please stop.
Go on.
Well, objectively, it's probably not.
It's definitely
That's
not
not
true.
true.
Here's
not
the
true.
point I'm about to make is this. There are always people that can play better than you.
Mm-hmm.
There are always people that can play the fucking parts. There's the three of us could go on an audition tomorrow, and there's 50 other guys and gals that could get that gig and do better than us and whatever. Be responsible on the gig, be on time, do your homework, keep your head down, do your job, be a cool hang, don't create a fuss about stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and granted, that's easier said than done, especially when you're on the road and we all get cranky. Stuff comes up. We're all human. I've lost my shit at stuff. The point is, if you have a good attitude and you're responsible and you do your job and you're likable, that goes a long fucking way.
Yes.
Because I'm about to be 54 and I've never had a real job.
Yeah.
And I'm not the best drummer.
Objectively.
I'm
Objectively.
not.
Objectively.
I have a thing that I do, and I know what I do well. And
I
want to
add on to this.
But my point is, 80% of the gig is the hang. Because when you're on a big tour, if you're on a big pop tour that's going to go out for 18 months, you're going to be with the same fucking people for 18 months in very small spaces.
Yes.
Vans, tour buses, planes, dressing rooms, hotels, whatever, you know what I mean? And you're going to get on each other's nerves at times, and it's about managing your own shit so that you don't lose it and you have a good time, and being able to deal with other people and the rigors of being on the road and the requirements of being a side person, which we are, which are your ass can get sent home anytime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and you're also hanging out with creative people too, and creative people are my 99% of my friends are creative people, but they're also
mercurial.
And I am too. So
yeah, same. Yeah. So think about, yes, we all agree we're that same type of person, right? That's why we do what we do.
Exactly.
That's why we're good at what we do, and that's why we can get on stage in front of 100,000 people and fucking crush it, right? It takes a certain level of ego and just a different mindset to do that on a daily basis, right? And so I think it's important to know, you got to play. You have to be able to play, but you don't have to be the fucking best.
yeah.
No.
You don't.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Please, I know you
this?
have a lot to say.
Bands don't exist. Bands haven't existed in a long time. Everything's just about like an artist who's singing.
Yeah.
And everyone's, oh, you're a side man. It doesn't matter. Side woman, whatever. But everybody who works has this it factor about them that's beyond playing, beyond just being a cool hang. And I'll tell you what, right now, as we're doing this, the band Primus is having an audition, open audition,
I
right?
was hoping we'd get here
And
eventually.
Let's go.
So you look at a lot of this stuff that's sort of sifting around online.
Yeah.
And you watch a lot of these people trying to get, and they're fucking losers. And you can tell they're fucking dorks by the video. And everyone I know, I can bring up our friend Neil again, too.
Yeah.
He's a rock star. Ben,
Yeah.
you're a rock star. Like, just the way you interact, like, you walking into an audition, you go, that guy's just a rock star. I don't know what it is. We can't define that it factor. But, people want to know, I know I got to be a good hang. I know I got to be able to play. I got to play to a click. There's this other thing, and just the point that Stacy made, 50 people could be great for this gig.
Right.
Well, whatever gig it is. It's not like, we're looking for, a new drummer for Earth, Wind, and Fire. We need a serious R&B guy here. It's like, we're talking about if in pop music and rock music, who's ever playing is defining what that is. But you got to have this sort of it thing. And I can't really help anyone with that or explain what that is. You're just like, cool, I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I agree with that. And that can be different. I could be an it person to you on this day.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow I go in and audition for Elias and I'm not an it person for him for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that is a thing. Primus is a great example.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought it up
Thank
because
you.
I fucking love Primus.
Love
Yeah.
it.
And
When I got in your car, I think you were showing me something, but Primus was like one of the last thing on.
It
Yeah.
was because I didn't submit an official video, but because everyone was doing that, I had full on FOMO.
Sure.
And like Neil and Elias and I text a lot and talk shit a lot.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go learn a song because I saw Primus back in the day at least half a dozen times. I was in Boston. I was a fucking kid with like dreadlocks and like skate rat snowboard.
You had
kid.
dreadlocks?
I did.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
did. I had super long hair, like down to like here, and then my friend Liz Rebert wound them up and like burned them with like a curl and then I wore a wool hat for like 2 months and then boom, I had dreadlocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Point is, I was really into like Fishbone and Primus and Red Hot Chili Peppers early days, like that kind of shit. So when this Primus thing came around, I was like, I fucking want that gig, right? Then I put my drums in a rehearsal space, busted out my iPhone, filmed myself playing Here Come the Bastards, and I was like, oh my God, I sound terrible. Like, this
That's
is
not
the
true.
worst.
That's objectively not true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not great. So I did it for 2 days.
Yeah.
Okay. I had this space. Shout out to Kid Row in my neighborhood.
Yes, Kid Row.
They let me come in and bring a drum set in there every now and then, because at my house I just have an electronic kit because I don't want to annoy my neighbors.
Yeah.
But I wanted to play real drums, so I went in there, and the first day I went in, and I also like the iPhone angles and video and everything. Terrible. I was like, I look terrible. I'm like, why do I look like I'm sitting weird? And like, it's just all bad. I will say the second day I sounded better on day 2 because I had some time to reflect.
Yeah.
I had a little more time to learn the song. By the way, that song's in 5. I never play in 5. It's also just slow enough that it's like hard to like get it in the pocket.
Yes.
It's hard. Shit is hard. Shout out and respect to Tim Alexander and Brain.
Yeah.
That's a hard gig. So we were kind of talking. I was talking with Neil, and I was like, I know I'm not going to get the Primus gig. You know what I mean? But would I like to see myself on the Primus gig? Yes. Yes, I would. But I know it's not my thing. That's not my gig.
So you haven't sent it in. You're not going to send it in. You're not going to send it in.
You're not sending it in.
I'm not sending that. No.
You're not auditioning. You're not.
No,
doing that?
no. I'm actually
announcing right now that you're the Primus drummer.
No.
Congratulations.
No,
That's really cool.
I kind of I have a roundabout way to.
He's got an inside track.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
you do.
a very, very, very roundabout way to get them through a couple people that go straight to that camp. So I'm kind of sharing some information on, hashtag pro tips.
This will come out probably next week. So.
Yeah, so I'm sure they'll find somebody.
No, but
Who's going to get the gig? Who's going to get it?
Dave Grohl.
It's not going to be Dave.
He has some time off. He has some time off.
He does.
Ooh. What about Jay Weinberg?
Jay's great, but Jay's very punk rock.
Yeah, but
and he's with Suicidal Tendencies and Infectious Grooves right now. I mean, he's doing great. Yeah,
he seems like he'd be the guy that would double bass. By the way, do you know when I never really took myself seriously as the drummer for Primus in my own head when we were playing around.
Sure.
But the thing that really made me realize, other than the fact that I sounded like complete dog shit trying to play that
objectively
song,
not true.
You haven't even seen the video.
I already know I'm right.
You already know.
Right.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah.
But but Elias told me that can I share some information?
Whatever, anything.
Yeah, which was that they just wanted to see someone jam a little.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you I'm the world's worst jammer.
I mean, you were talking about the Smashing Pumpkins thing. I mean, I'm sure you killed it when you were just jamming.
I know. I was better at Cherub Rock because I had worked out a thing.
Sure, yeah.
I play
I'm the same way.
The same fills every fucking night on a tour.
Wait, when you did Cherub Rock, did you have the 8th note left foot going that Jimmy did?
I can't remember.
Okay, to me with the Pumpkins,
I can't remember.
But Jimmy's all about the left foot hi-hat 8th notes.
Let me tell you something.
Interesting. Okay.
Let me share this also with the younger crowd. Something that I have myself been guilty of, and I think gotten in the weeds on, and have fucked myself on, is trying to play exactly like the guy before you.
Yes.
And as somebody that I do this all the time. I have my own band, and Jeremy Taggart from Our Lady Peace just sat in with us, and
love Jeremy.
The best, love him. And the point is, you don't have to play exactly like the guy before you. You know what I mean? And I know the parts to those American Hi-Fi songs like my body, right?
Yeah.
Because I wrote the songs, and Brian, our drummer, who is phenomenal, who is playing in Everclear now, which is why he couldn't do these gigs with us. We share a mutual kind of love for the same shit. So, as soon as I would write a riff, he would play the part that I would want to hear, right?
Right.
That said, I've fucked myself by doing this, by being I have to play that hi-hat just like Jimmy.
Right.
I have to play that fucking ghost note just like that. It's no, you don't. You don't. You don't. And in fact, when I was doing this Primus research, when Brain was playing in Primus, he didn't play double bass at all. I didn't. I haven't seen one thing of Brain playing double bass with Primus.
Right.
And he played those same songs that Tim played with the double bass, but just in a different way, and it was fucking great. Play it mostly like the guy before you, but don't get into that minutia shit. I fuck myself by trying to do something that is not in my body. You know what I mean? Like, it's not natural to me as a drummer to whatever, play eighth notes on the hi-hat,
Right.
whatever, something that the guy before me was doing. And then I end up focusing on that and then miss the big picture.
Yeah, I think it's better to, if you go into a situation like that, if you're going to fail and have people like give you shit comments, at least fail doing something that's you, as opposed to
Yes.
fail being like, he's trying to do the thing that the other person did and it's not working.
Yes. I auditioned for a band a few years ago, and I was told I was too rock.
Can you
That's
say
a
what the band
compliment.
is?
And
Or do
I
you
will,
not?
It's a
I will take that. I will take that.
Adele. No, not Adele. No, that's not true.
It was Primus.
It was
actually.
Primus, actually. It's
It
too
was
rock.
weirdly enough, it was Primus.
On that note, when I come in to sub for people, and depending on how much time I have, I will actually try to do note for note, because as much as I can, because I think that a lot of singers, Stacy, who's also a phenomenal lead singer from American Hi-Fi, if I don't personally know the singer, which 99% of the time is the case, I don't know what certain things or fills they might be anchoring on live that they're used to hearing, and there's a lot.
And that's my point. Play the big picture stuff.
Right.
Don't get lost in those little things that like trip you up, because I do that.
Right.
Because I'm like, oh, but I auditioned for Social D years ago, and I was like, I fucked myself by like trying to get into this thing, and Mike Ness didn't give a shit about that.
No way. Yeah.
No, and one of the hardest things I ever attempted to do is I subbed for Al Cleveland.
I would not want to do that.
And
who's that?
He's like an alien.
Pocket for days, chops galore, taste.
Wow. Okay.
It's everything. He had been playing with this artist Bryce Vine for about 5 years.
Okay.
And on the board mix that I got, he had ownership of these songs. He'd been playing these songs for 5 years. So much creativity, so many chops, basically numerous drum solos and the stuff. It took me about 2.5 weeks, about 8 hours a day, to really learn, and I'm going to be generous and say 70 to 75% of all the stuff he's doing. It was like a chop explosion for 75 minutes.
Wow.
And I said, I want to learn this. I put the effort in, and I worked my ass off. And can
I interject?
Yeah.
Or ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you, in that moment, do you like slow stuff down?
Yes.
Do you use that stuff?
With
Yeah.
this, because I'm not a gospel drummer at all. I know enough to fake a lot of things in different ways, and a lot of like a lot of different patterns. But I mean, I don't listen to gospel music. I don't listen to fusion, or I cannot stand fusion. I can't. To me, it's unlistenable. But the drumming is amazing. The drumming moves me. Like I can go online and watch these guys chop out, not accompanied by music, and that playing moves me. I just don't like where it comes from. In this case, because he was shredding. Luckily, I had a stem of just the drums from a board mix. And by the way, in the 75
That is a
minutes,
luxury.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is a luxury
Yes.
with this, which is also why I was able to kind of slow and go, okay, right, left, kick, right, left, right, kick.
Do you write it out? Do you write shit
no,
out?
I write zero charts. I had nothing. But I slow it down and go, oh, okay, now I see what he's doing. So, and then I had Al down at the studio, at my drum studio, to say, and he started hysterically laughing. He's like, dude, you're catching he's like, man, I didn't even realize I was doing this and this, and because he's just in the moment and
Makes
stuff
it
like
all
that.
worth it when they say that.
Right. Just here's an experience. I went and I ended up playing, the show was Sublime with Rome and Bryce, and it was in Vegas. And because of the way the day was going, we didn't really get a sound check. So I went up there cold, basically sort of on Al's mix in my ears.
Yeah.
And we don't use the same ears, so it's like a completely different, thing. And because I put that time in and learned most everything, everyone freaked out. They were like, this is awesome, and I pulled it off. And within that show, there's multiple, like, little drum solos and stuff, which I didn't do the drums. I mean, I might start a drum solo off the same way he did and then end it the way that he did, but in the middle just kind of add it, insert things here.
The smart way to do it, for sure.
Yeah, but I didn't know what, in a show like that was that many chops, what, Bryce might anchor with. So I wanted to make sure that I had every splash and every little, and I don't really play with, but with this show, I had 2 different splashes, China, crashes, multiple toms, the whole thing.
What
just
Elias
I
is
didn't
saying
know.
is the comment I made earlier is bullshit. So
No. Keep in mind, that's why he's Stacy, and I'm just saying this was a one-time thing.
You're right, and you have the ability to do that. Like I don't know that I do.
Yes, you do.
I don't know that I do.
He does too.
By the way, I'm going to plug.
I'm not
you have
sure
an
that I do.
upcoming show for Christmas that's going to air around Christmas time, right?
December 16th.
December
on NBC.
16th, and if you want to hear Stacy do a little bit of every style, you can watch that.
I guess what my point was, I played worse because I was focused on the wrong shit.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's the point I want to make.
Yeah. Has there ever been a moment where you feel like you needed to reinvent your playing or your entire approach to drumming?
Right now.
Interesting.
I'm doing it right now as we speak. And like the Christmas show thing is a nice sort of conduit for me to kind of do that because it's pocket drumming, it's chill, there's brushes. I've done it 2 years in a row now, and last year there was a lot of brushes. And this year I was like, I've never studied brushes ever. I can fake it, you know.
Sure.
And I was like, you know what? I don't want to fake it this year. So I called Jason Sutter, and this motherfucker came over and schooled me on the brushes. So one thing that I was fucking up was I don't play traditional grip. So when I was doing the brushes, I was playing normal, match grip, right? And Sutter's like, dude, no, you got to play left-hand traditional. It just makes more sense. And he showed me this kind of pattern, and I was like, oh, my God. And it, like, unlocked a piece of my drumming that I didn't know was there.
Wow, yeah.
Incredible.
I love to learn. That's one thing I want to tell everyone. Keep learning. Keep taking lessons. I called Jason. He came over, and I'm lucky that I'm friends with guys like that. I'm lucky I'm friends with guys like Dave Elitch and Greg Bissonette, you know, that I can call and say, hey, I need to fucking learn this thing. Can you show me this? Or like, or I just want to be pushed beyond my boundaries.
Yeah.
Go sit in a room with Dave Elitch or Greg Bissonette. They will fucking school your ass.
I'll tell you what, one of the times I wanted to quit drums was I was in a room with Dave Elitch, Ron Bruner, and Eric Moore.
Oh, yeah.
And I was watching the 3 of them, and I was like, I should own drumsticks.
My brain doesn't operate like that.
It absolutely was I mean, this was almost 20 years ago now, too. And this is before I knew about that kind of playing, really. I mean, I listened to Tool all day. I'd never seen people play like this before.
Yeah.
The extent of like what was possible on a drum kit was Danny Carey. And he's amazing. He's so creative genius. Tool's one of my favorite bands. But that kind of playing, I was like, oh my God. But to your question, there were a couple things I wanted to do at the beginning of this year. Get faster on double bass, which I really practiced. I think I sent you a video of me fly. I was doing 195.
You did.
16th notes, consistent 16th notes at 195. And then I also wanted to be able to keep a samba ostinato with my feet and then be able to freeform solo on top of that.
Can I tell you something I have been working on?
Yes.
And this sounds like rudimentary, but I really think this separates the men from the boys. And like Abe Jr. is one of the best at this. And I'm lucky enough to have seen him my entire life, basically. Going from the verse to the chorus without making it feel like you just changed shit. You know what I mean? Going from the chorus to the bridge without rushing that bass drum or that fill on the floor tom. And then coming into the last chorus just right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the shit I really respect. By the way, I love the chops too.
Sure.
But that shit is hard.
Yeah.
You do that seamlessly.
I mean, thank you for saying that, but I don't. But it's something I have to work on, and consciously, I'm aware of it because just making seamless transitions.
It's crazy because you listen to a drummer and one rushed bass drum going into the second chorus can just kind of bum you out.
Oh yeah, I hear myself do it, and I fucking hate it. I get board tapes every night from the whatever. If I'm on a show or tour or whatever, I'm always like, I get in my bunk and I'm listening to board tapes. I'm just beating myself up.
Yeah, you're
I'm
a
like,
masochist,
Yeah, I'm like, that hi-hat was a little off, that bass drum rush there, whatever. And I would like to also tell the listeners, don't do that.
Don't listen to yourself or don't beat yourself up.
Listen to yourself and critique yourself, but don't beat yourself up because that's a losing battle.
I try and tell myself that's a moment in time. I was there. It happened.
Yeah.
It's not who you are now. You have the knowledge now that you listen to that. Like,
yes.
You're not the same person. That's
Learn
just like,
from it.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Record yourself, listen to yourself back, learn from it. I learned I'm not going to be the drummer in Primus.
But it's like there might be 6 months where when you like, I'm sure a lot of people that are listening don't record themselves.
Right.
And so just know that there's going to be 6 months, maybe a year, where you consecutively hate yourself listening back. But eventually,
I've hated myself for
listen-
40 years.
Well, I hope it's not that long for the listeners, but eventually you'll get to the point where you start changing the things you don't like, and then after a little bit, you're like, oh, I can listen to myself, and it's not that bad anymore.
Yeah.
But it's going to suck at first. You got to get through that.
Yes,
but
that's true.
record yourself, assess yourself.
Yes.
That's how you get better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but let it go. Because to your
Yes.
point, it was a moment in time. Let it go.
Here's a hot take, and I'm a big fan of, yes, beat yourself up.
Yeah.
And compare yourself to other people.
Sure.
I've read so much, just do the best you can. Don't compare yourself to other people.
No.
Don't beat yourself. I say beat yourself up. Go look at Styx Taylor and feel
Hell
bad
yeah.
about yourself. So
Yes.
you force yourself to work harder.
Yes.
And I will say, I'd like to add to that. I came up with Josh Freese and Abe and like cats like that.
Never heard of them.
Were in my world,
Yeah.
right? So those were my sort of peers in a way. I played on records with both of them. Abe gave me my first gig. He was the drummer in Letters to Cleo before me, and then he recommended me. So these guys were like my contemporaries. So my entire adult life, I've been measuring myself up to those two motherfuckers. Imagine that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, but
Those guys are great. And even to this day, I'm about to be 54, and I'm still like, yeah, I want to be as good as those guys. I never will be, and I'm it's okay. But like to Elias's point, keep pushing yourself.
Yeah.
Take lessons with Elitch.
Yeah.
Take lessons with Greg Bissonette. Take lessons with whatever. Push yourself
Yes.
and compare yourself to the people that you think are great. Because that's how you elevate your own game.
Depending on what type of person you are, for me, beating myself up gives me the fuel to work harder.
Well, and it's also the term beating yourself up. That means something different to everyone.
Right.
Sure,
So it's
right.
not like
Because
to
I don't.
a...
When I beat myself up, I don't want to work harder.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For me,
Like when I listen to
Yeah.
my Primus video, I'm like, oh fuck, I don't want to play drums for another month.
objectively
Not true.
Just
Yeah.
stop. No, but for real, like that's my visceral response is like, not always like, oh, I want to work harder. It's like, oh, what? God, I didn't think I sounded that bad.
Sure.
That's terrible. Moderation in terms of beating yourself up.
Well, so I do have a hard out in about 10 minutes.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
But did
No,
you want-
yeah, no, we had a hard
I
out.
thought we
yeah.
had like 4 more hours.
I know. But did you want to talk about Tosh Peterson?
If we're at the end, I want
think
to
so,
for
yes.
any young drummers out there that want to work. I love Tosh so much. He
So do
is
I.
so incredible.
Yes.
You just had him on Troy Sivan.
I would like to just add that I just hired Tosh for Troy Sivan, who's an artist that I am a musical director for.
Yes.
And he did all the things that you want a guy
Yes.
to do when they show up at the gig. He was early every day. He had a good fucking attitude. He knew the songs inside and out.
Yes.
He knew all the parts. He played the correct bass drum patterns.
Yes.
He asked the right questions like, hey, to your point earlier, there's a snap on the thing. Do you want me to just play that as a rim click, or should we play it on the SPD? Should I play it as a snare drum? Do you want a fill here? And like, and Tosh is known for flashy fills, right? 'Cause,
Yeah.
he can fucking
Sure.
rip,
Yeah.
right? But he came into this gig just playing the parts from the record. And I really appreciated that. And as we got into the rehearsals and as we got into the show and the show build, I would say to him like, okay, now give me a little Tosh right here. And
Which he has plenty of that.
And
Yeah.
he knew exactly what that meant. And he did a thing. And Troy would fucking light up
Yeah.
when that happened. And so, yes, I could not say enough great things about Tosh.
Absolutely.
Love ya, dude.
Yes,
Yeah.
which I don't know, a lot of young drummers too, which they're so focused on. I don't know if they're on TikTok or Instagram, just trying to get you sort of do these. I don't know if they want gigs or I. It's so weird. There's a lot of young guys, and girls that like, I'm like, do you want to tour? Are you trying to just like be in your bedroom and play? I don't understand. But if you're trying to get gigs and trying to work, you go look at what Tosh's his social media. Go look at this, and that is, just go and do that.
I'm not sure if this will make the show, but I remember when he was on the podcast 2-3 years ago, he recorded his voice on his end, and then he sent it to me post-show. And I noticed that there was a little bit of a wavelength at the end of his little wave that he sent me. And it was like silence, and then he went, "Fuck you, Ben." And then he stopped. And it made me so happy because it was just really funny.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is very good. Yes.
I like it.
Well, I think that's a good place to stop for tonight.
Yeah, we have to end it with Tosh.
Great.
Yeah.
But a quick recap. It's about being a good hang. You got to have a great pocket and chops. It's not one or the other. You got to have both if you want Stacey to give you that call. And this man works with some of the biggest artists in the entire world. So,
I'd like to interject. Chops is 20%.
Sure, but the fact that it's a percent, it needs to be there.
It depends.
It needs to be
But
there.
the fact that when you were with Troy and you said, "Hey, Tosh," or insert whatever drummer, give me the sauce.
Yeah.
But not every gig. And the reason I trusted Tosh with that is because I know what he does and I know what he's capable of. And so I was like, all right, give me some of you right here. I want into this bridge. Boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We want that. I don't always want that. The thing that Tosh does well is all that stuff he does. Like I had him one time, he posted something and I was like, dude, what is that? Like, can you show me what that is? And he's like, oh yeah, it's easy. It's just like right, left, right, kick, left, right, kick, left,
It's
right.
like that Fred Armisen video.
Yeah, 100%. And I was like, I'm like, dude, what? How do you even process this?
Yeah.
I can't process that. So he's good at taking things that are patterns and whatever, but making them musical.
Yeah.
And like that's one of the things. Like I can play like chopsy things.
Sure.
In a vacuum. And I think I said this on the podcast when we did it before.
Yeah.
I can sit at a kit and go and do some chopsy things. Put me in a context of like, oh, hey, can you do that going into the bridge? I can't. My brain doesn't work that way.
Because of Dave Elitch, I learned how to do that. Which, by the way, I've seen you. Stacey has plenty of chops.
Yes,
but,
he does.
He absolutely does. But that to me, that skill has saved me and gotten me work because I was able to give my version of that in a rock drummer in a gospel-y kind of way.
Yes.
Because even if you don't use it in the gig, people just want to know that you can. I had such a great time with you guys.
This was great.
This was really fun.
This was fantastic.
And thank you to Patches Sound.
And David Corwin. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I hope we got that on the recording.
Yeah.
So love you all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good night.
Love.
Good day.
And by the way, this is just part one.
Part one.
We'll be doing this again for part two at some point.
You
There
know
you
what?
go.
You didn't start by saying, what is up?
Well, I haven't been doing that as much with
I
the drum
missed
panel. What is up?
Yes.
There we go.
Thank you. Can you put that at the beginning or
Yes,
just leave it
yes.
at the end?
Yeah.
It is nice hearing his voice in your headphones in real life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I listen to every podcast, and so you have a
Yeah.
very
You've been
nice
very nice about that. Thank you.
speaking voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the show. If you're listening on a platform that allows ratings and reviews, do that. It helps more people find the show, so it'll get bigger and better, and hopefully I'll have a chance to sell out one day. But you'll be an OG listener that can brag to all your friends. Anyways, why don't you go and check us out at bigfatsnaredrum.com and follow us on all the socials. Just search for Big Fat Snare Drum and you will find us. The show is edited in part using Isotope RX Audio Editor. It's amazing, so go check that out at isotope.com. And thanks again to Gunnar Olsen for the theme music. Bye.